are live on Blab. Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Vibe here, as always, saying you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and your solution for someone's problem. Thank you for hanging in with us. We were a little bit delayed. There were some technical challenges at the front end, but hey, we found a way. So this is it, and we are here. Do note that I'm the host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, and as always, I like to say you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and your solution for someone's problem. In the hot seat, no, just in the seat tonight, is LeRon Barton. And I'm going to let LeRon talk about himself and introduce himself. He's been on the show a few times, but now he is somewhat of a regular on my Sunday night live podcast called Do You Know What Time It Is? And very happy to have his contributions. And introduce yourself, my man. Make it happen.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Vibe. My name is LeRon Barton. I'm a writer, author, artist. I live in San Francisco, California. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, South Side, 63rd Street. I've written 2 books. My first book is Straight Dope, a 360-degree look into American drug culture. That was released in February of 2013. My newest book, All We Really Need Is Love, was released in November of 2015. I write about race, gender, sex, and just pop culture and just, everything cool under the sun. You can reach me at Mainline LeRon on Twitter, as well as www.mainlinepub.com. And I'm just always blessed to be in the presence of the wonderful Dr. Vibe here. So.
Well, much appreciated, not taken for granted. Just a little bit background about yourself. How did you get into the world of writing? What got you jumping into this wonderful world called writing?
Well, I mean, I've always loved to write ever since I was a young child. My mother, being the great person that she is, she encouraged my writing to sort of keep going. And I ended up going to a fine arts school in Kansas City, Missouri. It's called Paseo Academy. And from there, I kind of left it alone. I mean, I would write sort of like here and there. I didn't start taking it seriously until actually about the beginning of 2012, when my ex-girlfriend dumped me. So thank you very much. And it just sort of spurred me to start writing more seriously. I then published my first book, and then I just started writing essays. I was really inspired by the Trayvon Martin ruling. And I just thought that, as a Black man, I mean, there's not a lot of us really writing good, powerful stuff. I like to think that I am, and someone that just wants to write honest and from the heart. And so I just started to write about race a lot, also, gender politics, trying to become an ally with the LGBTQ movement, and really trying to kind of express myself and, just let young people know, especially young Black as well as other young non-white people, that there is someone out there that has a voice. And if I can do it, then you can do it.
Excellent. So you write to educate and inspire, correct?
Absolutely, 100%. The tagline to my company, Mainline Publications, is to edify, entertain, and educate. So, I mean, it's cool to have fun. It's cool to read something, that's just like, oh man, this is funny. This is great. But I just want it to be edifying, because at the end of the day, I think that's what we're all put on this earth to do, is to sort of pass along a message or to inspire people. So.
Excellent. Well, you know what? Let's get right to it, and especially this most recent article. Well, it's a recent article you did, right? And you've written some since then, but you said you wanted to come on the show and chat about that. So, first of all, why the title?
Well, it's funny because the title, because it just kind of for me, writing about this, Dr. Vibe, the title, They Love Us, They Love Our Culture, but Not Love Us. It's just sort of a look into how things are as far as race relations within not only the United States, but the world. I mean, people love Black culture. People love so-called Latino culture. They love Asian culture, but they don't really care for the people that are behind the culture. So I just thought that it was just really interesting, just the sort of the dichotomy there. And I just wanted to just talk about it.
You say that, and I hope you're using general. You're not saying all people who are non-ethnic.
Not at all, man. I mean, no, not at all. Like I'm not trying to generalize. I'm just saying that there are many white people that, may love a song by Wiz Khalifa, but don't care about the Black Lives Matter movement. They may love listening to Santana's Black Magic Woman, but don't care about the ICE raids that happen, or that just, may love Bruce Lee, but just don't really care about Asian people. So, I mean, it's like they love a small part of us, but they don't love us as a whole.
Right. Obviously, feelings like this you've been thinking about a long time, many years. What said to yourself, LeRon, I've got to put my feelings onto a piece of paper at this time? Why at this time this difficult for you?
Well, Dr. Vibe, it was two things really. It was the first thing. It was just seeing the reaction to the Paris massacre, and just there was so much outcry and there was so much support of the people that were massacred in Paris, with the paper, I believe it was called Charlie Hebdo. But, you didn't see that same concern for Tamir Rice getting killed. You didn't see that same concern for Trayvon Martin being brutally murdered by the racist terrorist George Zimmerman. And then what kind of hit the nail in the coffin was like when Sandra Bland, when she was killed, I mean, no one on Facebook, no one on social media that was not a person of color, they weren't really talking about it. I mean, some were, and shout out to the people who were really sort of informed, but just many people were just sort of talking about, okay, so did you hear about hotline bling? And I was just like, wow. So like you can literally like just ignore what we're going through, but just at the same time, love us when we're entertaining you, and I just kind of knew like that there was something there that I wanted to write about.
Excellent. Okay. But how much do you feel the media has to play in this?
Well, I mean, I think the media has a lot to do with it. I mean, it's just like what Malcolm X said, the media is the most powerful entity on the planet. So I think that the media consistently pushes out a narrative that says that, Black as well as other non-white people are violent, we're dangerous, and we're not worthy of any type of, people caring about us. But, when it comes to, the latest trends, fashion, music, the quote unquote street cred, I mean, people kind of crave that, but it's just, as I said before, there's a disconnect between the two.
Just going a little bit more into the media space here, do you feel media at this point is reinforcing or creating these thoughts or the feelings you talk about in your article?
Well, I mean, I think the media never stopped, really. I mean, I mean, we could go back to like, let's say during like the Cotton Club days, right? I mean, the media covered Black performers, performing at these locations, but the media didn't really put a spotlight on the conditions that the everyday Black person was going. I mean, it's almost like they didn't do a very fair, and I really hate to use the word fair, but they didn't do a just job. I mean, it was just like, okay, well, again, Billie Holiday, she's an amazing singer, but then they can turn around and say, oh, well, the Negro's shiftless and worse and worthless. So, I mean, like, I mean, to be honest with you, Dr. Bob, the media's never been our friend. I mean, I can't think of a time and place where the media has ever looked at Black folks with a favorable light. I mean, it's always been, like backhanded compliments, sneaky disses, or just outright blatant racism.
Okay. When, and this is quite a complex article, and, it appeared in a number of different places. When you saw the events that happened with Sandra Bland, with Tamir Rice, were there any people who were white that you found that were sympathetic? And
Absolutely.
if they were, how did you deal with them?
Absolutely. I have friends that, we would talk about it and they would just say, I just can't believe that we live in a country that allows this state sanctioned murder. And I mean, some people were really, truly sympathetic and were truly genuine. But I mean, I'd be lying if I said if I said like that there were a lot. I mean, I can, Danny Greer was awesome with it. Jonah Matrango was great with it. Ellen Dalkey, I mean, those are a couple of folk off the top of my head. But I mean, in a perfect world, we would all be outraged. But it was just, I just feel like that it's almost to be expected for Black people to be going through things like this. And there's also sort of a justification that either the media likes to sort of run with, or the people like to make so that they don't care, and so that they can just live with blinders on. Like, oh, well, Tamir Rice should have been playing with a toy gun, even though, he's a 12-year-old child playing with a toy gun. I mean, I've seen in that state, Ohio, where grown white men have had semi-automatic rifles and they've been disarmed without anyone shooting. I mean, to think about that, like Tamir Rice was killed under 15 seconds of the police officer's arrival. That was a toy gun, and there's going to be no there's going to be no more sort of judicial proceedings to press charges against the officer. And mind you, that officer had bad marks in his career before he got with that police department. So I mean, where's the justice? And I didn't see that outrage, or just I really didn't even see it being mentioned. I mean, my friend Joanna, she talked about it. And there was a couple other white people, but just for the most part, it was just like, well, hey, that goes on over there. We don't have to worry about that. We're white, we're protected. So, what are you going to do?
When you say that many of non-whites culture, but not like us, what do they like about in your opinion, what do they like about the culture, and what do they don't like about us?
That's a really interesting question, man. I've often, it's so funny because I was talking with a really good friend of mine last night. She's an older Black woman that I like to get sort of advice from, and she kind of sets me straight on a couple of things. And we had talked about it possibly being some sort of exoticism in a way, like, even in 2016, Black culture is very exotic. I mean, it's, it's one of these things where it's like, I guess some people feel like that they can sort of be adventurous, live through it. I mean, I don't know what many whites get out of Black culture. I've never asked. I've never asked them before. I mean, I don't think that I've really cared to really ask, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right. But what do you feel many non-whites, not whites, do not like about people of color? What do you feel they don't like? Do you have any just general thoughts? You may not have asked, but do you have any thoughts from your experience as a Black male?
What they don't like? Well, so, one of your former guests, a guy that I really look up to, Dr. Tommy J. Curry, he he was the first person that I ever heard to use the term white backlash, right? So I feel like that many whites essentially don't want a country, don't want a system where it's all going to be equal. So whenever a non-white person, either Black, Latino, Asian, whenever we make certain strides, there's going to be a white backlash to sort of, put us back in place. I mean, if you look at throughout history, whether it be housing, how desegregation of housing happened, whether it be desegregation of schools. I mean, there had to be like the armed forces coming in to escort young Black people into schools. I mean, it's whenever there's some sort of Black progress made, there's always this big white backlash, and we're always labeled, well, we're uppity, we're arrogant, we're trying to rise above our station. And it's just, I mean, in my heart, the average white person does not want us to be on the same level.
Okay. We're discussing with LeRon Butler a recent article that he wrote called "They Are Culture, But Not Us." We're live on Blab. We're live at the Dr. Vibe Show. We're also live on Periscope. Shout out to Angela Beaton 95 for joining in on Periscope. Also shouting out to Durham Skywriter.
Right.
Also Haru. Also I can do Dave from Australia. So, yeah, and if anyone would like to join in the conversation, you can certainly type your comments in on the side. And there are also seats open because it is a very important subject and writing from a American perspective, but this is a global issue. And I know he's done some traveling. So
absolutely,
I want to pick up on that and just came to my mind. In the traveling that you have done, do you feel that this still exists outside of your home country, America?
Absolutely. I mean, if you go to, say, places like Germany, if you go to places like France, I mean, blackface is regularly enjoyed. I mean, if you even go to, say, Korea, I mean, there's certain Asian countries where, they'll put on blackface, they'll put on dreads, and they will, sort of, I guess, favorably mock Black culture. I mean, but it's like you can go there, you can entertain, you can dunk a basketball. They will, many people will treat you like you're solid gold, but if you go to some places and if you are a person that wants to criticize the establishment, criticize the way the world is and the way the world treats Black, white, Asian, Latino, I mean, like Black, Asian, Latino, and other non-white people, then there's a problem. I mean, if you look at how many athletes, many entertainers are just apolitical, and that's because, unfortunately, they're scared and they know that, okay, well, if I step outside my comfort zone and if I actually start talking about things the way that they are, then you're going to be labeled subversive. You're going to be labeled a troublemaker, or the popular term of the day, you're going to be labeled a thug. And, and that's just what it is.
Just want to share a comment by @Durham Skywriter saying, since the early days of minstrel shows, whites put on blackface to experience the freedom of abandoning their natural inhibitions.
Very good comment. No, I saw that comment and she was right on the money. There is a documentary. It's called Little White Lie, right? And it's about this confused Black woman who was raised in a sort of a multicultural sort of Jewish environment where she grew up not knowing that she was Black. And so she asked her mother, well, what was it like going down to the Black neighborhoods? And her mother said, well, it's like I can go down there and I could be free. I could let all my inhibitions fall to the wayside. So similar to what Durham Skywriter is saying, it's almost like they could just, I guess, quote unquote, let their hair down, you know? And I mean, I find that happening so much. I mean, like whenever I will see some white girls going to black clubs or whatever, like they can just do things that they couldn't do in another social setting, you know. And I always found that really interesting, you know, just sort of thinking back on that now, I kind of realized that, okay, it was sort of a escapism, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, and the funny thing is like black people and white people, we love and want to do the same things. I mean, yes, we have different cultures, but we're not that different to the point where it's like you living in California and you going to New York. I mean, it's not that. I mean, I don't know. It's just so crazy, just like how some treat us, though, you know.
Right. Just want to welcome at Solutions Turk, and also like to welcome in, and just waiting, I know who it is, at Ahmad Hazel. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for both coming in. You can certainly put comments on the side, but there are seats open if you want to join the conversation, a very important conversation of they love our culture, but they don't love us. LeRon, when you wrote, what has the reaction been to this article?
You know, it's funny. Like when I was talking with my friend last night, when I write about Black culture in general, when I write about the pearls of being a Black man, I get really high accolades. I mean, like the views are in the thousands. This article, when you start to sort of, I guess, critique or speak out against some parts of, there's really no white culture, but let's just, for argument's sake, if you just want to speak out against white culture or sort of even criticize it, well, the views are going to be very low. So this was probably my most unpopular piece that I've ever written, to be honest with you. I mean, and I wasn't surprised. I mean, whenever you voice an opinion that is going against the mainstream, well, you know, this is going to happen.
Understood. And it's interesting. What does that tell you about American society? Because,
well, I mean, it's just simply put, like America doesn't like having a mirror put in front of their face. I mean, I'm sorry, but by the way, Dr. Vibe, I cannot see you. I just want you to know that your camera might have went dead on us. Hello. Okay, so I guess we're gonna wait till he comes back. But yeah, so it's one of those things where whenever you sort of point at the hypocrisies of America, that becomes a very unpopular thing. You know, for example, when you bring up, okay, well, let's talk about the Bundy sort of siege in Oregon. When you bring up things like, well, if that were Muslims, if that were Black, if that were Latino, if that were Asian folks, then they will be getting killed. So then, of course, you're going to have this backlash and people are going to say, oh, well, you know, stop bringing race into it. This has nothing to do with race. So, I mean, that's not going to get a popular response. But if you, I mean, it's almost like some people like to hear this. I guess some people like to hear, some people like to read about the pain of Black people, you know, the pain of Latino people, the pain of Asian folks, the indigenous people. You know, I mean, it's one of those things where they want to live through that. You know, I mean, it's like, but when it comes from, okay, well, you know, you're one of the reasons why we have this pain, then, you know, people aren't going to be very receptive to that. So, you know, Durham Skywriter says sometimes the appropriation of Black culture has been a good thing in Chicago, many Polish forward-thinking folks love jazz and the freedom that it represents. I never thought about that. I mean, I don't think so. For me, I don't think cultural appropriation is good at all. But I think that I think that you can move pieces of a culture forward. I mean, obviously, rock and roll and many forms of music were invented by Black people. But I mean, I would be remiss to say that bands such as Led Zeppelin or The Clash haven't taken the art form and pushed it further. So I mean, though, but very good comment, Durham Skywriter.
No problem. I am
Sure.
back. My apologies for the technical challenges. Just want to come back, and as before I dropped out for a moment. What does that tell you about America? The fact that this is one of your least viewed articles.
Right. Again, what that tells me about America is that America doesn't want the mirror to be placed in front of their faces. It's especially when it's coming from a Black person. I mean, again, as I said earlier, people, for some sick reason, people love to hear about the pain of other minority or oppressed peoples. I mean, it's something. I mean, they love reading about the slave trade, how we were able to rise up during Jim Crow, or what it was like for the Chicano movement to form with the United Farm Workers. I mean, like that stuff is intriguing, but when it comes to saying, okay, well, one of the reasons, actually, I'm sorry, not one of the reasons, but the main reason why we are at this place is because of racism, white supremacy. And then once we're sort of putting the onus from us to the racist system structure, then it becomes an issue of like, oh my God, I don't want to feel bad. It's not my fault. They're just not hard workers, and just all this deflection happens.
Okay. You said some things there. I just want to shout out some people who joined in. Jim Collison, thank you so much for stopping by. Much appreciated. Also at your PC Guru Jim, thanks very much for stopping by. Appreciate it. So, question here, you mentioned it. Is America today, in your opinion, a white supremacist society?
Is America a white supremacist society? Is that a trick question? Of course it is. No. Come on.
No, it's not a trick question at all, because you've mentioned it. I just wanted to see if, and why do you feel it's still, if you feel that way, why do you feel it continues to be a white supremacist society, and what is keeping that thought or that system, in your opinion, in existence?
Well, okay, so this is a three-part question. Thank you for the really awesome question. So I do believe that white supremacy, racism, white supremacy is the order. For two, I'm sorry. What was the second part of the question, Dr. Vibe?
If it exists, what's keeping it in place? What are the systems that are keeping it in place? Well, is it governmental? Is it economic? What are the factors keeping that, in your opinion, white supremacist society in America?
Okay, well, to understand white supremacy is to know that, as you said, it's a system, but it's made up of many different systems. So let's look at it sort of like from a pyramid, from a tent. So you have white supremacy at the top of here, right? But then under that, you have things such as housing, education, economic, you have war, you have entertainment, you have social settings such as dating. I mean, if you look at the dismal education system, I mean, it's not a coincidence that in lower income areas, people of color usually reside there. Therefore, they get inadequate education. With inadequate education comes inadequate job opportunities. So with inadequate job opportunities, people are more than likely to commit crimes. So then you have another tenet of white supremacy, which is the judicial law enforcement, law and order system, which proportionally incarcerates more minorities, more Black, more Latino people than it does whites. It is a fact that white people, if a white person and if a Black person are arrested and are charged with the same crime, it is a fact that Black people and Latino people will receive a sentence 20% harsher than the white person. It is a fact economically that it is easier for a white person with a high school diploma to find a job than it is a Black person with a college degree. If we look at what's going on with Flint, Michigan, for example, that is an overwhelmingly Black city, and yet those people have been effectively poisoned. And this has been going on since like March and May of 2015. So I've given you several examples of how white supremacy works. I mean, there's voting suppression acts that have been tried to be put into place ever since Obama's been elected. I mean, if you even look at our entertainment. I mean, look at the Oscars. All of the acting categories and writing categories are disproportionately white. There's no people of color in those categories. So racism, white supremacy is a system that affects all facets of life. So I hope that I was able to answer that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel, is the supremacy more of a certain group of white individuals, or do you think it's a wide group of white individuals?
Well, see, how can I answer that? I think that so let me answer that this way. I think there are white people that maliciously want to harm us, but I think the overwhelmingly majority are white people that may not want to intentionally harm us or kill us or put us in nooses, but they don't say anything. They just sort of just let the system go. Because I mean, just think about it this way, right? The way that the system is set up, it's to favor the white man. Then after that, it's the white woman. Do you honestly think that they want to be treated like someone that looks like me, someone that looks, say, of Latin descent, someone that looks like Asian? That's like me. That's like me saying, for everything to be equal, you got to give me some of your money. People ain't gonna want to give that up. Like people don't want to give up that privilege. So I think that's the majority of the population. Now, there are some white folks out there that are working towards dismantling the system of racism, white supremacy. I would be irresponsible to not admit that, and I love them. I got major love for anyone that's willing to risk their life and their privilege and their comfort to make sure that we all get it the same. But overwhelmingly, there are just people that just love the way that the system is set up, and I can't blame them. I mean, because hell, man, like, who wants to be followed in stores? Who wants to take a chance of being gunned down by some police officer? Who wants to have a harder time finding a job? Who wants to have a credit score that's always that's not gonna be as high as a white person? Who wants those disadvantages? So I don't agree with it. But I understand the way that the game works, though.
What role do blacks have, or what things do you feel African Americans can do to change the situation that exists in your mind?
Well, I mean, first off, as Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, rest in peace, she would always say is like, we have to have black self-respect, which what I've taken to mean is that for one, self-respect pretty much means not lying to yourself. So embracing your blackness, also just whenever you see racism, white supremacy, you immediately check it and try to replace it with justice. And you also are patient with other black and non-white people. You know that goes along that goes a long way. I mean, many black folks are how can I say, they are afraid of the system. They don't know how to combat the system, so they conform to the system. So I don't like to name call, but some of them may say things like a Stacey Dash. I mean, you know, saying things that are just incorrect, that are going against the welfare for black people because they are afraid. You know, I think that black people, we need to start empowering ourselves, learning about who we are. I think that we should start to circulate the dollar amongst ourselves. I mean, that's just a couple things. I mean, you know, spread information. Like, I'm a writer, so I want to give a voice to black people, to other non-white people. And I mean, and if there are some great white people that want to listen, you know, I want to talk to you. But just mainly, it's just about us just having black self-respect and just not accepting any kind of treatment, man. I mean, you know, we're too great of a people to just sit back and just be treated the way that we're treating. I'm sorry, the way that we're treated, you know?
President Obama, briefly in some of your conversation tonight, during his term, his second term is coming over. It's winding down. How do you feel the situation has either gotten better, gotten worse?
So I think you cut off.
The same?
I'm sorry, you cut off a little bit. I think you were saying has Black America's situation gotten better or worse? Well, I'm not a fan of symbolism.
Well, right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I did freeze for a frame. I'll come with my conversation piece again. During Barack Obama's presidency, now it's coming to, has this situation, this white supremacy that you call it, gotten worse or stayed the same?
You know,
Same
man,
from where you
that's
sit.
a really good question. I think that I think that before President Obama, racism was sort of it wasn't. I mean, it was sort of sly. It was kind of implied, but it wasn't overt the way it is now. I mean, it's just people like President Obama. They've really sort of allowed a lot of whites to really express how much hatred they have for Black and other non-white people. I mean, I think that President Obama has made racists just, you know, come to the forefront. I mean, I think the guy's name is LePage, the Maine governor. I mean, he's saying things like, well, drug dealers named Swifty and Smooth come here and impregnate white girls and leave. I mean, that's just incredibly racist. I never heard of anyone saying something like that pre-Obama. But then again, I'm only 37 years old. I mean, of course, there were overt racist that were before him. But I just feel like that now it's just a racist flea market. I mean, it's just a racist free for all now. I mean, it's really interesting how people are just free with the tongue and they're just letting everybody know how they feel. And the interesting thing about that question, Dr. Bob, is like, I was going to also attack on that. You have someone like Donald Trump, who is just, in my eyes, the most overtly racist candidate I've seen in my lifetime. So he's making it okay to be a bigot. I mean, he's got people of color getting their butts kicked at his rallies. I mean, he's got people beating up Muslims. I mean, he's trying to. I mean, it's incredible how just vicious this guy's words are, and people are just eating them up. So I think you can't have an Obama without having a Donald Trump, though.
Okay. Well, as we're coming down at the end. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I know. I wanted to reply to Durham Skywriter. She said he didn't allow it. I guess she's referring to Obama, but he did act as a good lightning rod for racists. I 100% agree with that. I apologize if I said that he allowed it. I think that with his presence, he just attracted, as she said, he was just a lightning rod for just people to just have their true feelings come to the surface.
Okay. Well, as we're coming down to the end of our conversation, just want to close down a bit, but I want to, if possible, hopefully I'll be able to read your final 2 paragraphs of your article. Dave, so your final 2 paragraphs go as, this is not meant to shame and disparage white people. That does not solve anything. That does not solve anything. Does it move us closer to a solution on how to dismantle, nor is this meant to be a blanket of indictment of all white people. There are some amazing allies that are out there putting in the work. I am friends with some. I just between enjoying what Black people bring to the table and caring about Black people. You can't love my culture and not love me. You want and leave the rest. This is not a buffet.
That's pretty awesome. That's what's up.
Well, unquote.
Right. It sounds good though. It sounds good when you're reading.
You wrote.
Right. Yes, it does. Dr. Bob, I cannot hear you. Okay, well, when he comes back, we'll agree. So Durham Skywriter writes, the less intelligent and knee-jerk racists feel that they haven't been represented for a while. So now there's chance. So now's their chance with Trump. I 100% agree with that.
Oh, it better be pretty awesome.
For me,
right?
I think Trump is a very, very important and valuable tool for a lot of Black, Latino, Middle Eastern people. I think that a lot of people think that because you can interracially date, or because you are friends with white folks, that or because you're having mixed babies, or what have you, that's the end of racism. But I think that Trump is a really good reminder of that. Racism is not only does it exist, but that many people sort of gravitate to it. I mean, he has a lot of followers. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I'm just voting for him because he's famous." But I think a lot of them really are for him because he's not only is he a racist, but he's a xenophobe. And it's just this really silly notion of keeping America for America, which is just total bulljob. I mean, America was never really for America. If it were that, then it wouldn't even really be called America. I mean, I don't know what the Native American called it, but before Christopher the rapist, Columbus, ascended on the land, but it's just, I don't know. I think he's a really interesting guy. I mean, I think Trump is he's a racist with a lot of money. Yeah. People, they say that they say they're from Trump because he's not afraid to speak his mind. Hey, look, have you ever seen a presidential candidate? Like, this dude is damn near like, what's the guy's name? The Nazi Party guys are like George Lincoln Rockwell. I mean, he's pretty much close to that. I mean, this guy is he's incredibly racist. Like, it's just not even a joke. Like, yeah. Yep. So anyway, so my name is LeRon Barton. I'm with mainlinepub.com. We love to write. We love to talk, and just really looking to just hear from some folks. If you guys have any questions, please type them into the box, so we can get some messages. Durham Skywriter, she's spitting that ism, a lot of really good comments. It's funny because today I heard the White Privilege 2 song by Macklemore. And Macklemore, I wasn't really a fan, but I really liked the song. I mean, I liked the song Downtown because it was a big, dumb, goofy song. But I liked the song White Privilege 2 because he really talks about, how he is able to get so many accolades from rap and how he's viewed as this safe character, but yet he knows that he is he knows that he's appropriating Black culture, and it is very honest. I'm not saying that I'm giving him kudos because he's a white guy that's speaking out against racism. Like, I just think that, he's someone that should be doing the right thing, but just the fact that, as I stated in the article, you don't hear Justin Bieber, who's just blatantly inspired by Black music. Miley Cyrus, Iggy Azalea. You don't hear Justin Timberlake. Robin Thicke. I mean, Robin Thicke has a Black child. I mean, you don't hear them talking about Black issues. No kind of Black Lives Matter. I mean, it's coming from their mouths, but they're more than willing to work with Black artists to appropriate Black fashion, to appropriate Black music. So, I mean, I just, shout out to Macklemore for, keeping it real. And, Durham Skywriter says, I don't really expect them to, though. Well, why is that, though? I mean, if I'm a person that, if I'm inspired by, see again, that's the reason why that I wrote the article, is like, you can't, as Sir Justin Timberlake, like, you can't be inspired by Al Green and other Memphis, artists and try to sing the blues, try to sing in a terrible falsetto. Durham Skywriter says, because they don't know the history, although maybe they should. I think that I have to disagree with that. I think that we often say, oh, well, white people are ignorant about racism, which is completely wrong. I mean, it's not possible. It keeps happening. The thing about racism and white supremacy, to quote Dr. Tommy J. Curry, is like, it bursts over and over and over. And like, it grows and it sort of shape shifts, every period. I mean, it's a resilient system. We may get housing, but but our FHA loans are blocked. We may be able to be segregated into schools, but there are still overwhelmingly PWIs out there. So, I mean, it's always going to be ahead of the curve. So, I mean, I just want people to realize that like, it's not just some white man yelling nigger. It's not some person with a Confederate flag. Like, it's a system. When I learned that, when I stopped personalizing it, then that's when I really realized, like, whoa, we are really under under this system, we're in big trouble.
On that point, I'm going to cut it off. And LeRon, I have to thank you for putting up with all the technical challenges we had tonight. You make a great host.
Yeah, man.
You can handle yourself rather well.
Right. Man, listen, dude, like I'm always honored and always just truly blessed to interact with you, Dr. Vibe, and just to, talk with another Black gentleman, and just as well as the audience, man. I mean, shout out to Durham Skyrider. Yeah, like she's just beasting it. So you know what I mean? Like, and everyone that's just come in. I just want to end this by saying, like, I don't hate anybody. I love everyone. I mean, I'm not gonna be corny and be like, I have so many white friends, but I mean, it's like there have been so many white people that have gotten me to where I am that I could never fix my face and turn my back on them. I mean, it's just that I think that we have to, tell the truth, and it's nothing wrong with critique, because at the end of the day, like, we want to replace this system of racism, white supremacy with justice, as the great Neely Fuller Jr. said. And hating people, name calling, calling somebody a coon, calling somebody, racial slur, like that does not do anything to further the conversation. Fighting, just nasty language, just doing underhanded stuff, it does not do anything to further what we're trying to do. So it's all in love, but let's just keep it all the way live, like my mom used to say. So.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to close it down. And LeRon, I believe you gave your contact information before you leave. If you want to type it in on the side, it'd be appreciated while
Absolutely.
I close out the show.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Vibe here. I'm host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I like to see you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and you're a solution for someone's problem. Appreciate everyone who stopped by tonight. I believe I shout out everyone. I didn't shout out Tashi. Sorry, I didn't shout you out. And there's some other people who have at Luangas Francas. I hope I'm saying that right. Also on for a while at Misty A. Miller. Thank you. You've been on for a while. I appreciate that. Don't take it for granted. And final shout out to, I'll say William Sanchez, because I don't want to mess up your Twitter handle. So I'm going to leave it at that. So as always, you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles. You're a solution for someone's problem. I'm on Blab. I am on Blab a lot. Also, you can catch out a lot of my conversations I'll put my website address down here, and everything should be okay for the next show, which is coming up at the top of the hour, and it's about basically, why do women make wrong choices when it comes to men? I'm hosting the conversation.
Would love to be part of that.
I'm hosting the conversation.
Oh my God. Man,
it's all right. Yeah, you can't be everywhere, man. You can't be everywhere. But well, some. I say some, Durham. Some. I'm only hosting the conversation. They gave the title of they wanted to have as the conversation. So I said, okay. So I'm running with it. It's on at the top of the hour. If you want to touch base with me, my website is there. I'll also give my Twitter handle. And I promise that I'm going to do my best to correct the technical difficulties for the next program. But it also gives reason for LeRon to come back. And also you can catch LeRon on most Sunday nights at 9 p.m. at my website as one of the panelists of Do You Know What Time It Is, which is a 1 hour show where Black men give lots of commentaries about current events and news stories. And the show is hot. It is hot. It's a hot commentary show. LeRon, you want to say anything before we let you go?
I just want to say, again, Dr. Bob, thank you for allowing me to be on the show. To all the viewers, to all the listeners, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And, if you guys want to talk, you can always hit me at Mainline LeRon. You can also go to my website, www.mainlinepub.com. I'm always up for a really good conversation. And, it's all about building. I'm a creative, but I also talk about some really real stuff. So, I'm really up for a real conversation. And let's just get this thing moving. You dig?
All right. Carmel Swirl 243. My next conversation happens in 52 minutes. So on that, you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and you're a solution for someone's problem. If you like LeRon, check him out on my website on Sunday night. God bless, peace be well, and keep the faith. Bye-bye.